Well, here's the cultivator that Anthony Moser left in the front of my classroom when he finished doing his Grapes of Wrath presentation. He probably played a little Woody Guthrie like you're hearing in the background. I've been teaching the Grapes of Wrath for a long time and taught it for the last time this past fall. It's probably one of those books that makes more sense to me than it does to them, but did it anyway. The main reading room at the Library of Congress. Linda and I were there for a week several years ago and wrote a lesson plan about the Grapes of Wrath using ethnographic field research as our model. And that's the example that Anthony was using when he brought his artifact in. Here's the actual lesson plan. It incorporates Dorothea Lange's photography. Those are photographs from her scrapbooks. And if we click up here, here's the migrant mother. That's the one that most of us are familiar with. The idea behind the lesson is to use concrete artifacts out of the book as symbols, hence Anthony's cultivator. So then what we try to do is bridge what was going on in the 30s to what's going on these days. Well, there's a lot of economic inequity, there's a lot of trouble with the climate, and we've had our sort of cultural catastrophe as well in the shape of 9/11. Today's May 11th, so on the 11th of any month I think about September 11th. What we did this year is we taught Jonathan Safran Foer's Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, which was Linda's idea last year, and it went pretty well. So this year we both taught it with all of our juniors. It was good for us because it initiated a conversation that we hadn't had for a long time about what we were doing on September 11th. Everybody's got their September 11th story. Ours, we were teaching downstairs in the distance lab, and the only communication we really had about what was going on was like everybody else. We were seeing it on the television screens. But the weird thing about it was this: we were working with a class at Kent State. We collaborated with a couple of professors over there and their English method students, and they were completely isolated at Kent and didn't know what was going on. They'd heard there'd been an accident of some sort, but they didn't really have the full information. So we were getting the information from our side and then talking to them via the distance connection about what had happened. So it was almost super surreal in that sense. One of the connections we made with Extremely Loud was to the movie Man on Wire. It's a documentary about a Frenchman who walked between the Twin Towers. He was a tightrope walker. Philippe Petit, I guess is how you would say his name. And that's a pretty interesting story. But the idea of being up high and risking your life, and then tying that into the themes from Extremely Loud, and how Oscar tried to make sense of what happened to his father. I guess what we're trying to do with our kids is lay out a collage of experiences in front of them, and hopefully they can reassemble those pieces in a way that makes sense for them. So just as we used Daryl Zanuck and John Ford's Grapes of Wrath with Henry Fonda to help the kids make sense of the book, we also used the Woody Guthrie songs, an obvious connection there. And then I was lucky a few years ago to be able to go to the Woody Guthrie conference downtown that was sponsored by the Rock Hall and Case. And this is what it sounded like.
I'm flying back to the Mexican border, take all that money way back again.